This is a deeper listen from KEXP, the show we talk with musicians about the thoughts and experiences that shape their music. I'm Emily Fox. And today, I'm talking with Marie Davidson. She's an electronic artist from Montreal who's been releasing music for more than a decade. She's probably best known for a song off her fourth album, released in 2018, called Work It.
Work it. Work to be a winner.
She's now out with her sixth studio album. It's called City of Clowns. This latest release was largely inspired by a book released in 2018 called The Age of Surveillance Capitalism by Shoshana Zuboff. It's a book that discusses the challenges to humanity brought on by big tech companies like Facebook, Amazon, and Google. There are so many tracks on this album directly inspired by the influence of big tech. You hear it in the songs Statistical Modeling, Demolition, Push Me Head,
Scrutinize, analyze, customize, sanitize. We can upgrade your monthly plan.
YAAM,
Fake positivity is as cringe as it gets. You wanna suck me? Screw your fucking brain.
and more. I caught up with Marie Davidson to talk about the record and why the impact of big tech resonated with her so much while she was making this music. I first asked her about the Age of Surveillance Capitalism and her takeaways from the book.
It's a book written by Professor Shoshana Zuboff, which is also an American author. It talks about a new form of capitalism, which is surveillance, which is the accumulation of data based on our personal lives, privacy, the intrusion of privacy for the sake of convenience. And she talks about all the history that brought us to this point, how big tech became the main sources of capitalism and how it's affecting every level of our lives, and everything is marketable within the idea of like our personal lives. And she also talks a lot on a philosophical point of view about how it's impacting the evolution of our species, literally like the future of humankind, what we sacrifice for the sake of convenience and progress. The downsides are our abilities to come up with original thought, content, ideas, and our abilities to make up our own mind, make up our own decisions.
When you were reflecting on, what you read in The Age of Surveillance Capitalism, like what realizations do you feel like it made you think about when you think about society, or even just like your own life in relationship to big tech?
It's a good question. It's a deep question. This is kind of what motivated me to make this album. When I started reading The Age of Surveillance Capitalism back in the summer of 2022, I was making music, but I only had demos, let's say. I didn't have a clear direction. And it's when I started reading this book, I felt like this was addressing some of the vague insight I was having about how it feels to be an artist and a performer in this day and age. But I had didn't really have the tools and the phrasing to explain how I was feeling. And then I read this book and I was like, oh yeah, now I get it. This is why I feel so anxious, or I feel so powerless.
Push me to insanity. Push me deep. You got the best of me.
Basically, I still feel that I have to battle very hard to keep my individuality in this world of being an artist, a musician, navigating the music industry, but it could be any industry. If I want to keep being myself and not fall into all the traps of branding, which are now all based on algorithmic prediction and analysis, I have to be aware, I have to be conscious of what's going on, and I have to make a choice constantly. Every day. You have to repeat this every day. This is what led my interest to this subject.
Yeah. And I feel like you hear so much inspiration around this idea of like, social media surveillance, how much the internet has started to control our lives and social
Yeah.
media and things like that. And your album kind of opens with this track Validation's Wait, where you used Amazon's text-to-speech
Yes.
tool as part
Body.
of like the vocals. Yeah. Tell me more about like the soundscape you created there, but also just the message in this track.
It's a really good example. So it starts with my own voice at the beginning of the poem, whatever. It's not a poem. It's actually an adaptation of Zuboff's book. It's a passage of the book that I edited and condensed. Like, we learn to sacrifice our freedom, blah, blah, blah. We do this and that for progress. But I thought it would be interesting to say it at the you and merge my voice, the voice of Marie, that shifts into Amazon's Polly, text-to-speech. So, addressing the message at the you, it was a way to image with sounds that we are now more and more governed by the technology itself. And while we think that we are making decisions, we're actually sacrificing our free will.
You learn to sacrifice your freedom to collective knowledge imposed by others and for the sake of their guaranteed outcomes. The progress of the third modernity, offered by surveillance capital, is the answer to the quest for effective life together.
Thinking of more of these songs on this album that kind of nod to big tech taking over our lives, I really like your line, "We can drive you mad, then you'll show us how to self-help."
We can drive you mad, then you'll show us how to self-help.
Can you break that line down for me?
Yeah, of course. I'm glad you like that line because I like that line too.
Yeah.
That was more about branding in general. The song Push Me Head is about my deceitful experience with computerized programs in general, not just AI, but like some of the lines are also addressed just to all the like robotic computerized failures of our everyday interaction with technology. But that line, I meant it also about human beings, about branding. Self-help has been something that has gained a lot of attention. And I think it comes from a really good place initially. I've been interested in mental health for a while. My previous albums touched on it, especially Working Class Woman. When I wrote Working Class Woman and Renegade Breakdown, the songs, I was going through, I was in psychoanalysis. But I'm just really interested in psychology in general. So I've been interested in the phenomenon of self-help for quite a while. I do think, though, that there's also a lot of branding and marketing around self-help. And I've seen it also with my song, Work It.
Work it. Work to be a winner.
Because it was a song of self-help. I wrote it for me at first. And then I'm really happy that it resonated with that many people and it gave them drive to, wake up in the morning and do things. But the message was really, you have to love yourself and feed yourself. What I say in that song is really what I was talking about. I wrote this song because I was personally struggling with a mental illness at the time, which is it's an eating disorder called anorexia. So this is where it came from.
When I say work, I mean you've got to work for yourself. Love yourself. Feed yourself. So you can be a winner.
And it was funny for me to see a lot of branding around Work It throughout the years. And I'm not saying that I'm against it, but I kind of make fun of it because it's not where I come from. And I see the trend and the branding around self-help, and it kind of makes me laugh because I think so highly of psychology and therapy. And I think that when you are truly looking out for helping people, greed and income shouldn't be the first thing on your mind. So this is what the We Can Drive You Mad and We'll Show Us How You'll Show Us How to Self-Help. It's kind of like, we'll use you and then we'll use you again for your self-help skills. It's kind of what it meant.
Take a deep breath. We have a template. Assess the damage. Are we not excited? We can drive you mad. Then you'll show us how to self-help.
So in your song YAAM, you talk about how you want all the entrepreneurs, producers, influencers, and managers on the dance floor.
Entrepreneurs and producers, influencers to managers, the whole wide world of providers, of suppliers and insiders. Give me passion, give me more. I want your ass on the floor. All your asses on the floor. Yes, all your asses on the floor.
Why do you want them on the dance floor?
Because I want them to live with passion. This is exactly why I'm saying, give me passion, give me more. It's like, once again, I'm not against branding and, selling your shit, but it often narrows down artistry in general to a very, very small thing, which is often objectified. So to a conceptual object. So in the song, I'm asking, come on, give me passion, give me more, show me a bit more, like give me a little bit of your energy, give me something about yourself. Do you have emotions, and a good place to let loose, to be passionate for me is the dance floor, because this is where I come from.
Give me passion, give me more. I want your ass on the floor. All your asses on the floor. Yes, all your asses on the floor.
And I just feel like overall this album is timed really well. Here in the US, we're seeing a lot of big tech leaders, including Jeff Bezos of Amazon, Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook, and Elon Musk of Tesla, like getting really cozy with the Trump administration. And
I know,
in some
it's
cases,
been on my mind a lot.
But I'm also curious, like seeing, especially like Jeff Bezos, who, owns the Washington Post, which is kind of a little more left-leaning, changing his political tune, or like Facebook changing some of their policies, like, no longer fact-checking.
Of course.
Yeah, but I just think like this big shift in like, there's the image of like all the big tech leaders kind of front and center at the inauguration and being like, oh, wow, like they changed, some of them changed their tune with this new administration. And we're also seeing that Trump is bringing a lot of them close into his administration and kind of getting buddy-buddy with him. And so it's like, big tech is going to have, I feel like, a lot of influence under this administration. I'm just curious, like, as you've been reflecting on big tech generally, especially with this album, like, yeah, like, I know you're based in Canada, but like, I'm curious
it's definitely affecting me as a Canadian. There is a border between us, but the world we share, especially online, is the same world.
Mm-hmm. But I'm curious, like, what your thoughts are, like, seeing that politics could be getting really cozy with big tech. And I'm curious, just generally what your thoughts are on that.
Well, I'm of course afraid, very concerned, but I'm not surprised. Tech is politics. They're not just people. They influence every level of politics. And so it's just now they are in a position to be upfront about their values. And it's also a way, it's a way to send a message to people that it's over, that there is no such thing as democracy. It's a power play. Those people are ganging up together. I don't think it's the big of a shift. It's just more upfront. And it's a message they're sending to people, to democracy. They're laughing at they're laughing at democracy. And they are laughing at the so-called left or whatever, but they're mostly just sending the message that they own the world, or they think they own the world. And that being said, it's awful. It's horrifying. It's really alarming. I just want to say how I feel about it, but I don't say this lightly.
Tick-tack, time is never coming back. What you choose, you might lose. Wake up or go back to snooze.
So your song Fun Times is about your decision not to have kids. And there's a line that I'd love for you to elaborate on. The line is, tick-tack, time is never coming back. Will I lose on what I choose?
What you choose, you might lose. Wake up or go back to snooze.
Yeah, or find out in my interviews.
Yes, exactly. That's the second half of the chorus, exactly.
Time is never
Can you break that line down for me?
Well, what I meant by time is never coming back is that when you age, you don't get to go back to your youth. So as I am aging and I am making the choice to prioritize my career over having children, that's the choice, right? The choose or snooze or lose. And I am conscious of the fact that I won't get back those years. So at some point, if I don't have a child, it means I will grow older as not being a mother, which is a question many women, not every woman, but many women have to ask themselves. I love children, so I always thought I would have children, but it came as a surprise through the pandemic, and when I was checking the state of the world, I felt less and less inclined to reproduce myself. Not that I'm against it, though. I do think that people who truly feel like having children should, but I think we have to be aware of the implications it has to bring a young person into this world. You know, there's a lot of uncertainty. And I was thinking, okay, if I was to have children, what would I say to my children as they're growing up? How would I prepare them for their future, you know? And I felt very conflicted, to be honest. So I personally chose not to have children because I am still a bit unsure of the future I can offer them. And I decided instead to consider my art, my music, is what I consider my children.
You make babies, I'm having fun. Time is never coming back. What you choose, you might lose. Wake up or go back to size.
Thinking about like this next generation, I know my biggest fear for them is how big tech, which is what this album is about, is going to influence their lives, because we're already seeing the impacts already for those that grew up with smartphones in their hands, the impact on what is happening to them socially and also mental health wise.
Exactly.
And that's
psychologically.
Yeah,
I'm also worried.
Yeah, that's my biggest fear for this next generation. But, you know, going back to this overall theme of your album of kind of big tech kind of taking over society, you know, as inspired by this book, The Age of Surveillance Capitalism, you know, I'm just curious, just in summary, like, what are your hopes for society, but also like looking from a realistic perspective, like what do you think will become of society in big tech?
I think we are already in a crisis. It's not the future, it's the present, unfortunately. And to be honest, I have to be honest with you. You ask quite a big question, and I don't want to lie, so I'll have to be honest. I do think that things are going to get worse. That's my feeling. I'm not saying I'm right. This is just my feeling.
Yeah.
And I think that we are at the beginning of a crisis that will probably last for a while, probably reshape completely society and even humankind. But I do think there might be something else that's going to come out of it. The quality of life in general, I feel, is decreasing because of, like what you said, the impacts it has on our mental health. Not just like mental health in general, but like on a day-to-day basis. It's like also this all these technologies are really addictive, and if you're interested in addiction, I am because of my past. I know that true addiction, it rewires your brain, you know, it changes like the chemistry of your brain and the way on a neurological level. So I feel like right now the way our brains work have been affected by this. We've changed the way we process information, you know, attention span as very reduced, is very short, and all these things. I think there's going to be a lot of impact that are going to become more and more noticeable. And this will definitely have an impact on the way we evolve as a species. And like with everything, right? It was the same with the Industrial Revolution. People couldn't foresee that it would lead to the climate crisis we're experiencing now. But I think there's the equivalent for the way the digital revolution is going to affect us as individuals, and as also as a society. But we're already there. It's up to us globally, but also up to the future generations to see how they will face the changes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. A lot to digest, a lot to think about, but man, this album is incredibly relevant, especially right now. As we kind of wrap up the conversation, I'm wondering, is there anything else that you want to add about this record, or just anything else?
I would say that the closer of the album, Unknowing, is about self-determination and free will. And to summarize our conversation about the whole album and the themes, I would say that I don't believe yet that we are doomed. I believe we're in a very tricky position right now, and that there's a lot of uncertainty, and there's still a lot of ignorance around everything that's happening with technology and information privacy. But we all have a choice, and the choice is to keep nurturing critical thinking. And this is kind of what the poem at the end of Unknowing is about. Individuality, being able to stand for ourselves. And I hope that people will keep that drive, to question and nurture critical thinking.
Keep on running, back and forth, and back again. You will never catch me. Oh no, you can never catch me. They say pain is transitory in this life of small-scale glory. So I keep to myself the magic and the torments for you to enjoy the same old stories.
So my final question is, KEXP, we're all about music discovery. So we would love for you to give us a music recommendation. What's a song that you absolutely love, a song that is not yours, that either has stuck with you in your life or something that you're just loving right now?
Just one? Oh my God. There are so many. But I can give you a highlight of 2024 for me. What was one of the highlights? Mm-hmm. It's a song by another Canadian artist named Cindy Lee, and the song is called Stone Faces.
And what do you love about it?
The lyrics are so good. It's also kind of critical and very vulnerable, which I love. I love when artists are strong and vulnerable at the same time. I think that the lyrics, they're very scarce, there's not so many, but the lyrics are very strong, and the melodies are really catchy. It's probably the song I've listened to the most in 2024. When I was touring, I would listen to it a lot. It was my song to actually do my makeup before going to a gig.
Mm-hmm. The pump up track. I love it. Yeah. I've been speaking with Marie Davidson. Her new album, City of Clowns, was released on February 28th. Thank you so much for this conversation and for your work and for your time today.
Thank you. Thanks for the questions. They were good questions.
And that was A Deeper Listen. Before you go, please subscribe to this podcast, rate it, and review it. That really helps with word of mouth, letting other people know that this podcast exists, is worthy of other people's time. You can also share an episode with a friend that you love. That goes a long way. And KEXP, we are a publicly funded station. The majority of our funding to do what we do comes from listeners. And our spring fund drive is coming up. So I would love for you to think about giving $6 a month to support what we do here on A Deeper Listen. If you give $10 a month, you can also get some thank you gifts like a t-shirt or a KEXP water bottle. For $20 a month, you can get our KEXP baseball tee with KEXP written on the front. You can see what those thank you gifts look like when you give at kexp.org/deeper. But most of all, thanks for taking a deeper listen.